The crystalline walls of the Zarathian arena reflected 1,000 colors as Alex stood in the center, his chest heaving with controlled breaths. Around him, the alien audience fell silent, an eerie absence of the clicking and chittering that had filled the space moments before. Above, on the obsidian throne that seemed to grow from the arena's edge like a dark flower, Queen Shavara watched with her 4 compound eyes fixed upon the human. Alex had been aboard the merchant vessel Horizon's Edge when the Zarathian warships had intercepted them. He and Ashley, the ship's navigator, had been the only survivors taken as prisoners. The rest of the crew hadn't been so fortunate. "Your species amuses us," the Queen had said through her translator, her mandibles clicking in what might have been laughter. "So soft, so fragile. We shall see how you entertain us before we decide your fate." That had been 3 days ago. 3 days of watching other prisoners, Garvaxians with their scaled hides, Thorlians with their thick exoskeletons, even a Krell warrior with its biomechanical enhancements, all thrown into the arena against the Queen's champion soldiers. Alex had watched them all fall. Now it was his turn. The Zarathian soldier that entered the arena stood nearly 8 feet tall, its chitinous armor gleaming like polished onyx. 4 arms ending in blade-like appendages extended from its thorax, each one capable of piercing steel. The creature had evolved for war, bred specifically for the Queen's entertainment and conquest. Ashley's voice crackled through the primitive translator they'd allowed her to keep. She sat in the prisoner's box, her knuckles white as she gripped the railing. "Alex, please, just stay down. Don't give them a reason to—" "Can't do that, Ash," Alex whispered, knowing she could hear him through the arena's acoustics. He rolled his shoulders, his feet finding their stance on the smooth floor. "Besides, they're about to learn something about humans." The Queen raised one of her primary appendages. "Begin." The Zarathian soldier moved with terrifying speed, its bladed arms whistling through the air where Alex's head had been a fraction of a second before. The human had already moved, his body responding with the muscle memory of countless hours of training. Earth training. Human training. What the Zarathians didn't know, what none of the assembled species understood, was that humans had spent millennia perfecting the art of killing each other. While they had been bred for specific purposes, humans had been forged in the crucible of their own violence, creating fighting systems that turned their apparent weakness into devastating efficiency. Alex ducked under another strike, his hand shooting out to grab the soldier's lower right arm. He used the creature's momentum against it, redirecting the force while simultaneously striking at the joint with his elbow. The chitin cracked, not much, but enough. The soldier screeched in surprise. In the stands, the clicking intensified. Confusion. Interest. The Zarathian pressed its attack, all 4 arms working in coordinated fury. But Alex had already mapped the pattern. Every species had patterns, even the ones bred for combat. He slipped between the strikes like water, each movement economical, each breath controlled. Then he struck. His fist drove into the crack he'd created, and his other hand followed instantly, fingers finding the softer tissue beneath. The soldier stumbled back, green ichor seeping from the wound. Alex didn't give it time to recover. He moved inside the creature's guard, too close for those blade arms to be effective, and his hands became weapons. Palm strikes to joints, finger jabs to sensory organs, knee strikes to the creature's center of mass. The Zarathian soldier had been bred for war, but Alex had been trained in an art older than most civilizations, the systematic dismantling of an opponent using nothing but the human body's natural weapons. The soldier fell to one knee, then collapsed entirely. The arena was silent. Alex stood over his opponent, breathing hard, his knuckles bleeding but alive. He looked up at the Queen, his expression neutral despite the adrenaline screaming through his veins. Queen Shavara's soldiers, 24 of them lining the arena's edge, stood frozen. Their queen had not moved, all 4 eyes locked on the human male who had just defeated her champion, with nothing but his bare hands and his species' particular brand of controlled violence. Ashley's voice broke the silence, barely a whisper through the translator. "Alex!" The Queen finally moved, rising from her throne. Her mandibles clicked slowly, deliberately. When she spoke, her voice carried a note that the translator struggled to interpret, something between respect and fear. "Impossible," she said. "You have no natural weapons, no armor, no enhancements." Alex wiped blood from his lip, his own blood from a strike that had grazed him. We don't need them, Your Majesty. We're human. We turned ourselves into weapons millions of years ago, and we've been perfecting the craft ever since. He gestured to the fallen soldier. Your warrior was bred for this, built for it, but my people? We learned to fight because we had to. We learned to kill with our hands because sometimes that was all we had. We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest. But we're adaptable, and we're absolutely relentless when we need to be. The Queen's soldiers shifted uncomfortably, their weapons suddenly seeming less certain in their grips. Release us, Alex said, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. Release both of us and you'll never see humanity again. But if you don't, he let the implication hang in the air. Queen Shavara stood silent for a long moment. Then slowly she gestured to her guards. Release them both. Provide them with a vessel and safe passage to the nearest human outpost. As the guards moved to comply, the Queen's voice stopped Alex as he moved toward Ashley. Human, she called. Why did you show mercy? You could have killed my soldier. Alex turned back, meeting her alien gaze. Because that's the other thing about humans, Your Majesty. We choose when to be monsters and when to be merciful. That choice? That's what makes us truly dangerous. In the prisoner's box, Ashley stood as the force field deactivated. She rushed toward Alex, and together they walked from the arena, leaving behind a queen and her soldiers who would never look at humanity quite the same way again. Word would spread through the galaxy. The soft species, the ones with no natural weapons, the ones who seemed so fragile, they were perhaps the most dangerous of all. Because they had made weapons of themselves and they chose when to use that power. That choice, that terrible and beautiful choice, was what made them human. End.